Hey, Cowboy here. I see you're checking out some of our first season. Excellent choice. Great vintage stuff. Pairs well with steak. Just a few notes. In season 1, the name of the show was actually Head to Head, a video game podcast. But it's still the same show that you've come to love or will learn to love if this is your first time listening. So in either case, thanks for listening, and welcome to GameCorp. Oh, hi there. I saw you there the whole time. Head to Head, a video game podcast, provides comparative game reviews with an interwoven fictional narrative. It's got mature content, but it's also got a whole bunch of immature content. So if you have any complaints about that, please address them via Rock, 2 Floor 22, GameCorp, USA.
Hey, what are you working on?
I just got a bunch of, paid mobile game reviews I gotta do. Right now I'm working on Beekeeper Honeys HD. You ever play this? You're this Chinese girl who takes care of bees during the day, but then at night you use the profits to fund your supermodel career.
Oh, that's interesting. Is it any good?
Well, I mean, the graphics are better than the original. Obviously, it's HD remake, but 4K might have been a mistake for mobile. Plus, the whole game's in Chinese, so a few times I ended up picking the bikini during the beekeeping sessions, and then I got stung a lot, and my skin was all bloated for the catwalk that night, and I lost, and my rival laughed at me in front of everyone. It took a lot of honeycombs to get out of that mess, let me tell you.
Neat. Hey, speaking of which, Jake and I were heading to that new Korean place for lunch. Did you want to go?
Ah, shit, yeah, but I can't. The new boss told me I gotta work through lunch again. Said I had to get all these done before Chinese midnight, which I think is in 45 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, that sucks. That guy's been such a hard ass recently. He had me go through and write a 15-page review on Pong. And I'm not talking about one of the new remakes Pongs, no HD swimsuits, nothing like that. I mean the original Pong.
Yeah, right? He's so, intense and weird, right? He's always rubbing his hands together when he says stuff. It really freaks me out.
Yeah, well, I mean, all the new guys that came over are kind of like that. Did you notice that security wears helmets now? They kind of look like Judge Dredd.
I did notice that, yeah. That's pretty menacing. Things were better before we got sold to MediaCorp and they got us rebranded over to GameCorp. I really miss being just like a simple game magazine, you know?
Yeah, well, that's how it goes. It's a doggy-dog world out there.
Yeah, wait. Doggy-dog?
Yeah, doggy-dog. Doggy-dog world. We're all just dogs running around the park, sniffing each other's butts, trying to find a bone.
That's not... Look, never mind. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Does the new company seem kinda, I don't know, evil to you?
Yeah, well, they are a pretty big conglomerate media company, so that's about as evil as it gets.
Well, yeah, no, I get that. But I mean villain evil, like Shinra evil, like Cerberus evil.
What? No, I mean, those are just games. No company is actually like that in real life.
Listen up, you numbskulls.
Oh, hey, boss.
I heard you to reach out to this generation of gamers, and the best you could do is give me his social media plugs and YouTube ads. That's weak. It's weak. We need something new, stronger.
I don't know, boss. I ran the numbers recently, and social media has the largest reach for our target audience than anything else. And the number of views for the 10 to 24 demographic from our YouTube channel has never been higher.
Reach? Views? Who gives a shit? I need you making a real fucking impact on these soulless Vape Nation hooligans. You know what really speaks to this generation? Joe motherfucking Rogan. That's who. That roided out human hotbox has got something called a podcast. He just talks for hours about everything these kids love, like fighting and DMT and deadly chimps and existential dread. But best of all, video games. He's #1 in the nation, and that's where we need to be.
Okay. I see where you're going, boss. So you're saying we should get our clients' ads on his show, right?
What? Did submit to Joe again? Like I did in 93? Fuck no. We're gonna make our own podcast, run all our own ads on it, and it's gonna be sexy, brutal, and full of violence. We're gonna be like those wild chimps that tear the faces off of our competition.
Yeah, I mean, a podcast could be pretty cool. We could talk about all the harassment and assaults that go on in the gaming industry, maybe shed some light on issues affecting gaming, like poor monetization, lack of representation, or...
Not on my watch, you soy boy, blog posting beta cuck. We're gonna make the games battle, like Pokemon or the Bloodsports arena I visit twice a month. A fight to the death, where only one game can rise and be the victor.
There's actually a lot that goes into making a podcast, and we've never done anything like that.
Get it, Cheeto Breath. I want that podcast on my desk by 5 a.m. Monday, or you're all fired.
And that didn't sound evil to you?
You've just never worked in corporate before.
What's a podcast?
Welcome to the first episode of Head to Head, a video game podcast. Because of our 90 years of combined experience playing the games that you know and love, and really not much else, upper management has hand-chosen us to pit two games against each other in a head-to-head, no-holds-barred matchup to determine who will stand triumphant. We are your hosts. I am Cowboy.
I'm Jake.
I'm JB, aka Just Back Off.
Just Oh, shit.
And in today's battle, we're going to be facing off two contenders for a spooky multiplayer game to play with friends. The ghost hunting game, Phasmophobia, and the asymmetrical horror, In Silence. So, it is our first episode, guys. Congratulations, and...
Hey, we did it. All
yeah, I'm
right.
excited.
Here we are.
Finally showing our parents that we're not failures.
Well, too soon to tell,
Yeah,
really.
To be determined, but we'll see. So since this is the first episode and nobody knows who we are or cares about who we are, and we've all been going through identity crisis. I know that we all talked about that. I think we should start with a little bit about ourselves, kind of say why we decided to start a video game podcast, what our history in video games is. Basically, we're doing a bad resume. JB, if you'd like to start.
Oh boy. Well, I started like any true real gamer does in my grandma's basement. I was playing on an NES, original NES, with the Mario Duck Hunt combo game where you had the gun.
Hell yes.
Yeah. Played that a lot. So that was like my first foray. I was a big Nintendo guy. Child, I guess, for a long time. So I had the Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, I had a Game Boy. It wasn't until the PlayStation came out that I kind of diversified my gaming career, I guess, if you want to call it that.
I don't.
Yeah, nobody does, really. But as far as what types of games I like, I'm an equal opportunity gamer. I like pretty much every game as long as it's fun. That's the thing that really matters the most to me. I don't really care about storylines or conversation or, open world versus scripted versus whatever, right? Any game to me can be fun. So if you look back at Sonic 2006, right? So this was for the original Xbox, and it was hands down one of the worst games ever made. And it's one that is in my memory, and it will be for a long time because that was just a lot of fun. So it doesn't matter if it's bad from a technical perspective or it has a terrible story, which Sonic 2006 did. As long as it's fun, I'm happy. I also like a challenge. So I really like competitive games, but I consider myself to be a competitive wannabe. I'm not good at these games, but I play them a lot. I have, 2,500 hours in Dota 2, and I'm trash at that game. Speaking of which, Dota 2 is ugly. And it's not a good game from a technical perspective. It's broken, but it's a lot of fun. It holds my attention.
So you're saying you lose competitively, you go at those games with all your effort despite being bad at them.
Yeah, and I don't learn, so I just keep doing it.
The most ambitious loser.
Oh yeah,
at the game. Nobody loses like I lose.
Have you seen that show, The Biggest Loser? That's me. But in video games. I think there's an inside joke between the sexy game daddies, where I have the lead W key of the group.
Oh yeah.
God.
I can't be bothered. I can't. I'm just gonna go, and you either keep up or you don't.
This man.
And that's my world.
Yeah. He's the Usain Bolt of gaming. Like, it's no side quests, no going around the map to look for treasure. This man is just pure beelines on everything. This man probably didn't do a single side quest on Skyrim. That's it's just
You know, I never beat Skyrim.
no.
Woof.
Yeah.
The last game I beat was 2009, 2010, somewhere around there. That was the last time I beat a game.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was South Park Tower Defense. Let's go play.
Oh, well, at least you chose one with an intense and engaging story. That's great.
Oh, yeah. It was, not only did I beat that game, I demolished that game. Every achievement, I beat the last level on the hardest difficulty. And before that, the last game I beat was, I don't even know.
Well, a lot of games nowadays aren't intended to be beat. I'm seeing kind of a lopsidedness for games that you're supposed to just replay over and over as opposed to beat. Maybe that's just the types of games I play, but yeah, I don't think it's geared or rewarded as much towards like completionist.
True. It's all about replayability,
Mm-hmm.
short matches. Like if you look at any of the big games right now,
Mhm.
that's what it is. It's, Among Us, you have small matches that you play with your friends, all of the battle royales, all that stuff. You don't beat games anymore. Jake,
Yes, sir.
nobody knows.
The trouble I've seen. Nobody knows my sorrow.
Tell those people about your sorrow.
He means your life.
Shit. It started, I think this is going to be similar between the three of us. Some of my earliest memories were playing games. Now, I mean, it should be established pretty soon. We are all, I would say, sexy game daddies, right?
No doubt.
We're video game players in our 30s.
Yep.
We got kids. We got shit to do, but we still gaming. I think if you were to put me in a box, I would probably be the nerdiest of the gamers of the three of us. My favorite games have always been story-focused RPGs that last hundreds of hours, and I'm going to complete them. My earliest memory playing video games wasn't trying to beat Mario. It was playing the original Dragon Warrior. I'm talking Dragon Quest 1 for the Japanese purists. That isometric 8-bit fantasy romp. It is actually the very first RPG. Ooh. And I was playing it before I knew how to read. So I would walk, I would guess, I would mash the buttons, and the slime would either die or I would die. And I figured it out. I memorized the caves that didn't have light. I knew what towns to go to. I probably racked up hundreds of hours on Dragon Warrior before I knew how to read. And if you must know, I am a Libra, and I am totally into commitment. So just slide into those DMs.
Very important to know.
I think the listeners will have a question here. Can you read now?
I can read at a 5th grade level, and that is 500% more than when I started Dragon Warrior back in, 1990, I think. So, yeah, I think I'm doing pretty good
It's
there.
even more impressive because you did that whole game without knowing how to read. So I think that adds to your credentials,
Dude, yeah, one of my fondest memories, even today, as a sexy game daddy, even today, one of my fondest memories playing video games is making it to the Dragon Lord at the end. I fumbled through darkness all the way to the freaking Dragon Lord's lair and beat his face in because I had hundreds of hours of grinding my poor knight. And yeah, it was such a memorable experience, and it shaped who I am today as a gamer. I mean, I've completed the Mass Effect trilogy run through at least 12 times at this point, if that paints a picture of what kind of gamer I am.
And I played Dragon Warrior. Was it Warrior? It was Warrior, right?
In America, it was Dragon Warrior, yeah.
Yeah, you have always been the one to complete games because you got me into a lot of really good RPGs like Dark Souls and
Oh my god, yeah.
you got me to play the Mass Effects and stuff. And admittedly, I didn't finish Dragon Warrior. I didn't finish. I don't think I finished any of the Mass Effects. I still haven't finished Dark Souls. So yeah, I applaud you for being able to get through them. I'm the kind of person that's like, once I get the concept of the game and the gameplay, I'm like, okay, I have absorbed what this is. My mind can run the simulation for the rest, and I'm good. I'm going to move on. So let me go ahead and tell you guys a bit about myself as well. Within the three of you guys, I am probably the most technically focused one. I enjoy games much in the way that I enjoy movies. The movies that I enjoy have to be cerebral. I have to be able to leave the theater trying to think of all these different ways I could apply the physics and the things that happened in the movies, like movies about time travel, movies about psychology. And so in games, like for example, a lot of my favorite games are going to be Portal was a huge one. And when that came out, I was super into that game. Factorio, if none of you have played it, I highly recommend it. It is a game based on automating automation. You start simple, you automate the tasks that you used to do, and then you automate the tasks that automate the tasks that you used to do, and then fractals all the way up. A couple others, noticeably Superhot was a great game that I enjoyed. The game where when you move, time moves with you.
Did you play that in VR?
Oh, man.
I did.
Super Hot in VR is amazing.
It's so good.
I did, and my kid did, which was problematic. I like the idea that he got to experience like a shift in physics and it would blow his mind. I also didn't like that he was super aggressive about killing the red guys, you know? Like, they're vaguely human-shaped. I wonder if this is damaging your psyche. You know, one day he's going to punch somebody and be surprised when they don't shatter into red crystals. I don't understand. I hit him with my car and now he's just lying there.
Where's the next level, Daddy?
That's pretty much. I expect that call. He's like, there was no triangle to grab after I hit the guy. And so last, to kind of round up the idea of I am focused on mechanics. I love game mechanics. I love the idea that you can hyper-focus on certain ways that things work in physics engines. I am super addicted to Rocket League. If there's any Rocket League players out there, 1v1 me, bro, because I am about 2,000 hours in. If anybody doesn't know what Rocket League is, take like... super speed drag racing cars that can fly through the air and have them play soccer. And if that doesn't sound cool to you, then I don't know what will. I don't know what you can get addicted to if that doesn't sound like an amazing game. So a lot of my focus that you're going to hear is on some of the techniques that game developers employ, the way they design the games for what's called gameplay loops, the things that kind of keep you hooked, the things that you'll be mainly doing. I myself am not a game maker, at least not in a professional sense. I did go through and I've made some minor projects involving games, some game maker kits, and I always hope that I could be one day. You know, that's something I'm gonna move for. But it doesn't stop me from critiquing them and looking into them. As far as what I got started on, I love me some early Sierra games. One of my favorite games of all time, Quest for Glory. A game that my father got me when I was maybe like 12 or so. It is a point-and-click adventure with amazing narrators, with tons of impressions. All the characters have an impression of somebody famous like Jack Nicholson and Paul Robinson and all sorts. Look into it if you guys are nostalgic at all. Get into that game because that is one of the premier games that Sierra made. The very first game I ever played was on the Commodore 64. The Hulk game, text-based adventure, where you had to type what Hulk had to do. So you would tell Hulk to get pissed off, and Hulk would say he doesn't know how to piss off.
Is that real? Is that a real thing?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing, actually.
Oh, holy shit! That sounds like so much fun.
I feel like there's only one thing you can tell him to do, though. Smash, right?
And you win the game. Type smash, win the game.
You would be very surprised. I never beat that game. I was very young, but I never beat it because I got killed by ants every time. I would go outside the bunker you start in, you start tied to a chair, and then you tell Hulk to get mad somehow, so you tell him to bite his own lip or fall over in the chair, and he turns into Hulk and breaks out. Then you go outside, and these ants, no matter what I did, would kill me. I tell them to stomp the ants, but then they swarm me. As a 9-year-old, it was very frustrating. I'm surprised I still got into games. That was traumatizing.
As a 9-year-old, did you tell Hulk to smash the ants?
I told him to smash them. I told him to pee on them at one point because I was trying every trick in the book.
Did Hulk pee on
Yeah,
him?
no, they climbed up my pee stream and went into my urethra and killed me. It was impossible.
That is wild.
I don't think they did that, but kids and their memories, dude. Who
Oh,
knows?
man.
That might not be accurate. Don't look into it.
Did you guys ever play, here's another throwback. Let's fucking age, well, me, I guess. All of us. We're all going down on this ship together. Back on homestarrunner.com, did you guys ever play Peasant's Quest?
I think I did. With Trogdor?
Yeah, well, yeah, you play a villager and your main objective is to get to the top of the mountain to fight Trogdor.
Oh.
And it was text-based. It was isometric where you roam around, but to interact with the environment, that was also text-based. It's what that reminds me of. I know there's a lot of text-based games in the annals of game history, but I mean, I think that's the only text-based adventure that I've ever played. And I will never forget typing "throw baby," and you can throw a baby in the lake.
I wouldn't want to play a text-based game where you couldn't throw baby in a lake.
Right? Why limit yourself if text is the only interface? I mean, the world is your oyster, right?
I mean, the developer sitting there racking their brain as to what sick deed you might perform, and then actually having to, program the results in. It reminds me of a lot when I'm a DM. I have to anticipate the horrible things you guys would do.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's what the programmer has to do, is sit there nobody's gonna throw this baby in the fire. I don't need to program that, do I? Well, I guess I do.
Speaking of text-based games, there's AI Dungeon. Have you heard of AI Dungeon?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's that Google AI, I think it's Google. They made this AI API, which will take writing that you put in and do stuff with it based off of all of the random text that Google has access to, which is all of it, I'm pretty sure.
The whole world, yeah.
So this dude made an API. It's just one guy, or he made a RPG that uses that API to write your story. So it's basically text-based Dungeons and Dragons or anything else you want.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do literally anything. It's not very, I mean, it's still kind of iffy. It's using an old version of the API, but you can be kill a baby, and it'll be you walk up to a baby and it'll tell you a whole story. It'll set the stage. It'll give you a starting point. You can pick who you are, what you are. You can do anything.
And where does it crowdsource this information, the replies and stuff?
Google, I think.
It just picks text out of just billions of websites and just forms this?
Yeah, websites, probably text-to-speech stuff, probably uses CAPTCHAs, who knows? Google has all of the data.
So it's basically like a chat bot is your DM. That's what was that old Cleverbot? Cleverbot was
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cleverbot, yep.
Okay, think Cleverbot, but if it was a dungeon master and was actually pretty good. It's 92% of the way there.
You actually did it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I played it for hours.
Really?
That sounds amazing.
Oh, yeah, multiple days. That's all I did. It's super addictive and super fun.
So next episode, AI Dungeon versus Cleverbot?
AI Dungeon. I mean, you can do anything. And I mean anything. Wink, wink.
Oh, boy.
We get AI bot, or not AI bot, we get Cleverbot, and we somehow API him into that, and we make Cleverbot play it. A robot player with a robot DM. And then we just we run that simulation for 2 days. Let him just play 2 days worth and see what comes of it.
Yeah, I didn't. Okay, I'll tell you just a little bit, and then we'll probably move on to the next segment. But just a little bit of what AI Dungeon, one of the first games, I guess, I played of it. I started off in this dilapidated building, and there were these giant rats attacking me, and I decided I was a wizard. So then I was a wizard, and I was casting fireballs, and I was doing all this stuff, and I ended up in this crypt. And this evil necromancer vampire came after me, and I killed him. So then the townspeople were like, "Oh, great! That's awesome! You saved us, you freed us." And I was like, "No! I am the evil guy now." So I became the evil vampire necromancer. I raised an entire army, and I took over the entire planet, piece by piece. I took a vampire harem that I had my main woman her name was Alice, and she was my compatriot. So we took over the planet, and then we went off world, And while we were off world, we met the Jedi and the Sith, and we sided on the side of the Jedi, and we destroyed the Sith. And I had a lightsaber, and I was a vampire, and I was a necromancer, and it was glorious.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm really interested in playing that now.
It's fun. It's real fun.
You guys just want to like quit our job? I mean, like the boss won't care if we stop now, right? We could just play AI Dungeon and just. I'm sure we can fuck off until we get our next paycheck. Probably. I don't know.
We should get an AI just to run this podcast.
I feel like, dude, it's gonna go that way. I don't know. Shit's weird. I don't know.
He probably won't even notice. I'm sure he'll listen to it and we just get it to modulate our voices.
I don't know, man. I don't really know what to expect. We were given like 2 weeks to set this, like put this up. He just yelled at us and we're just kind of winging it. I'm really worried, guys. I'm not really confident in... What is that?
Incoming pod drop from floor 22.
Yo, can you hand that to me?
Yep.
Huh. Okay, let me open it up here. Oh.
What is it?
Oh, it's a segment. It's listener questions. Brought to you by Claire's Yummy Time No Taste Food Sauce. Claire's. Eh? Okay, so this one is... Oh, it's from Terry. It's from Terry from accounting. Hey, Terry. Terry asks, how do you get Quake 2 to work on the office computer? I'm so bored, I could kill myself. Oh.
So Terry's asking us that? Terry's sending us messages by tube?
No, there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch down here. And we got a bunch of questions. So Terry's asking, how do you get Quake 2 to work on the office computer? And the answer to that is, I think the guards will kill you, Terry. Anyway.
Also, Terry, there's a phone number you can call, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. If you're feeling hurt or like you're gonna hurt yourself or somebody else, why don't you give them a call? It's 1-800-273-8255. We're rooting for you, Terry.
Ah.
Alternatively, you could download DOSBox, which will help with the early game installs for like things like Quake and stuff. But Suicide Hotline is good too. Honestly, either one.
DOSBox is a suicide hotline, Terry. Did you guys ever get things like that to work, like at school? Did you guys set up like illegal Quake 2 rings or like StarCraft circles back when you were in like middle school?
Actually, yes. So in high school, I went to a high school with a bunch of kids that were not technically good. I was probably the biggest nerd in the school just from where I grew up. But they liked video games and they did not know what the heck a LAN party was. And so we had a computer class together at the end of the last period, and I had a bunch of kids in there that had no idea. And it was a A+ repair class, and the teacher was never there. He was just always gone. And so I introduced at least 8 or 9 kids to the concept of a LAN party, which we would have all the time. I would find the network IPs, and I'd get all the computers connected together in a server. I'm pretty sure we played Quake. There was Rise of the Triads. Does anybody remember that?
Mm-mm.
This is a classic game. Duke Nukem, obviously. Y'all remember Duke Nukem 3D?
Yep. How about Alien vs. Predator?
Yes.
Yep.
That is one of the best games of that era.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, oh my gosh. Yeah. Alien vs. Predator was definitely one of them. And just any of those games. I think that was during like early 2000s. I don't know dates. I have a bad memory. But yeah, we used to have like the entire period, hour-long LAN parties of just like 8 or 9 kids just shooting each other. Even sometimes when he was up front and he would be up at his desk and he'd be looking out and we'd all try to click as if we're clicking on like through lectures.
Yeah.
And trying not to make it sound, trying not to make the WASD so obvious. Like, that is a good point. Bam, 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 bam. You know? But yeah, that was a good amount of my high school computer classes, which I did not pass, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I did something, I guess, similar. So we did play some little games, but we were a little bit later, so our school kind of had stuff on lockdown. We were using a version of Ubuntu, and then we would have to use VMs to get onto Windows, and everything was locked down, so you couldn't really download anything.
Ugh.
Eventually, we did figure out how to get certain stuff working, so I was able to play some there was this stick fight game. It's not the current one that people play, Stick Fight the game,
Right.
but it was similar. There was a giant box and it was physics based and it was multiplayer. And at one point I was able to hook up to the projector and we had a tournament in class doing that. So similar. But my big story about that kind of stuff was I was trying to get around the VM. So I was doing all sorts of stuff and found a file on the system somewhere, got access to it somehow, and I just decided I was going to delete it. I don't know what I was hoping to achieve, but it worked. My computer no longer went to Windows at all. And I restarted and it still didn't work. So I went up to the teacher and was like, hey, I can't get on Windows. I don't know what's going on. So a couple days later, he comes up to me and he's like, yeah, they can't figure it out. Your computer's busted. You're going to have to move.
Oh my gosh.
I broke it for that computer. It was broken actually for that day. I think it was broken for everybody. I don't know. It was a long time ago, but then it was just me and I had to move computers.
I had something very I'm gonna tangent off that because I had something about teachers that are dumb and not dumb. They're just not at that time. Technology was new to everybody but us kids. So the teacher never knew as much as us in high school, even the computer lab teacher. So in this case, I like to play pranks because I already knew some stuff. I'd had a computer for years since I was way earlier than high school. And so the easiest way to prank people was to turn down the contrast and the brightness on the monitor.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah,
That's
that old
all-
chestnut. Yeah.
All you had to do was turn down that and everyone would flip their shit over it. And so one time I did that to the entire classroom instead of one person. I was like, you know what? This will be funny. I will do this to all the monitors and we'll all get a good laugh. We'll think something's universally wrong. Well, when I came in the next day, all the monitors were new.
No way.
No.
They got rid of all of them. And I did not know how much trouble I would get into if I said, hey, I did this. Are they still fine or are they in a dumpster in Nevada?
That's when you shut your mouth. Oh,
I
no
shut
way.
my mouth. I didn't say a word about it. And the new monitors were flat screen. They weren't that CRT, big badonkadonk in the back. They were the flat ones. And so I think, everybody thinks education needs to have their stuff upgraded. So I think that was a go red for ed moment. I think I helped the school by doing that.
Wow, yeah. You forced an upgrade for the whole classroom.
I'm an activist. What can I say?
Good for you, man. Good for you.
Activism isn't always based on intention. Sometimes you can accidentally help people, and that's just as virtuous. I want to point that out. So to answer your question, DOSBox or suicide hotline?
Yep, this next one. Hey, Janice in HR. What's up, Janice?
Janice.
Okay, Janice asks, can we talk about office hygiene? Dan sits 2 seats away from me, and I swear he's never showered in his life.
The thing about Dan, Janice, you have to remember is he's a real gamer. And that's something that you would never even hope to achieve.
Absolutely.
And you need to bask in his ephemeral...
Is that ghost related?
No. That's a ethereal...
I don't think that's right.
What's the word? You need to bask in his, dare I say it, holiness.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, some people think it's repugnant. I mean, in the office, you smell that stank. You go to something like, I don't know, a fucking Comic-Con,
Mm-hmm.
and they have signs up about that stank. I think we should be activists for the people who have not lived their life dirtily or lived their life as a stinky person. What they've done is cultured a scent that shows their commitment
Right.
to all things game and fantasy.
Can I throw in a theory here? Because I took a human studies class, and this is basic mating rituals because they have a hard time gamers have a hard time with women. They rely on pheromones, and the best way to get pheromones is to go a la natural. So nobody should be offended. It's that reek of BO is just him looking for a mate.
Yeah.
And you may not be the mate, Janice. You may not want to be his mate, but that doesn't mean he should stop looking for love. And I think it's really rude of you to tell him to stop looking for love.
Agreed. I agreed. I don't think we could have said it any better.
Mm-hmm.
Janice.
Janice, the denier of love, which is the nickname I've given you and will spread around the office.
Janice, I bet you're the type of person that goes out to a fancy restaurant. They get, a board of fancy meats and cheeses, and you take a sniff of the stinkiest cheese out there, and you go, ew, I don't like it.
Right.
It's the most expensive cheese. It's the aged, cultured cheese.
Cultured.
That the aristocracy supports, and us lowly peasants with our Axe body spray.
Poor people.
And Dove sensitive soap would never understand what it's like to have such an amazing, aged, dare I say vintage, musk.
Mm-hmm. That musk is a sign of extravagance. It is only destitute people that smell good. All the fine wines, every expensive wine I have ever smelt or tasted has been the worst I've had. Every scent that costs $200 in cologne has been the worst. That pungence, that smell that you're smelling is the smell of his elegance.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to bask in it.
And Janice, if you're not willing to do something like that, here's a pro tip for you. Spray some of your perfume on your mask, and then you'll only be smelling that, and you might get a little bit of a buzz.
Mm-hmm. A lot of alcohol.
Okay, before we move on, here at Head to Head, we don't believe ourselves to be the end-all be-all when it comes to passing judgment on video game battles. We are just 3 sexy video game daddies with a passion for video games and implied violence. So we would like to extend you the gavel to help weigh in on what we call the Audience Head-to-Head. The Audience Head-to-Head is brought to you by Blackbeard VPN. When the booty you want to plunder is illegal in your country, turn to Blackbeard VPN. Arr. Today in our Audience Head-to-Head, we ask, who are the superior walking pill monsters? The waddling contestants of Fall Guys or the uni-boned spacemen of the whodunit game Among Us? You can reply to this episode's post on Twitter or message us directly with who you think wins the battle to help us decide the results. Or, if your internet is down, scribble it on a rock and throw it through our window. Just do whatever you need to make sure your vote is heard.
Yeah, we're on the 22nd floor, so you're going to you'll throw it pretty high if you take that route, but,
GameCorp USA, floor 22.
Are we allowed to, weigh in? Because I feel like I know who's better.
This
I don't want to give it away.
And not for us. It's not for us, cowboy.
It is not for us to know. It is beyond us.
I want to follow your coattails there as well and say, if you, dear listener, have any questions, anything, and I mean anything, you want to ask us, hit us up again, headtoheadpod@gmail.com, or hit us up on the Twitter. On the Twitter. Hit us up on the Twitter and ask us some questions too, man. If your question is even legible, we might ask it.
Also, check us out on our MySpace. If your question is good enough, you'll make it into our top 8.
Oh, yeah, you got to be in the top. Yep.
And if it's really good, I'll put you in my T-Mobile top 5 fave. But it's got to be really good. We're dating the fuck out of ourselves right now with this MySpace, T-Mobile. What was yours, Shake?
I mean, T-Mobile's still a thing.
I called it the Twitter. I know. Just lean into it, man. We're in our 30s. Lean into it.
It's good that we're sexy game daddies, or else that would be embarrassing. You know, I'm talking about things that none of you kids listening know about anymore, but we're sexy game daddies, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Sexy and embarrassing, there's a fine line.
Mm-hmm.
And all that matters is confidence. If you say, man, I pooped my pants, that could be embarrassing. But if you said, hey, I pooped my pants, bam, you're Chris Pratt. Every woman loves you.
Hey, you. I pooped my pants.
Hey. What you think about that? I pooped my pants just a little bit.
Yeah, what you think about that? What you think?
What do you think about that?
I'd like to point out that the views of our host are not always affiliated with the views of Head to Head as a podcaster company. Sometimes they just say wild shit, and it does not reflect our views as a company and should not affect our profits, please. Oh, and that sounds like the producer's direct line to the podcast. That's right, we're so micromanaged that our boss has installed a bat phone, basically, and he has no problem calling us during live tapings. Let me just get that real quick. Hey, boss, you're on the...
What the hell is this? It's like The View, but with more estrogen. I'm not paying you to talk about sweaty nerd boy LAN parties. I want action and jump scares, and enough spook to make you shake a Mars bar down the leg of your trousers. Stop flapping your gums and get to the good stuff, you walking vegan string cheese. I'm talking rad monsters, killer ghosts, but most of all, the ultimate battle for video game dominance. Get to it. Oh, don't forget the ad. I need that money, because I got 10 illegitimate children, but 10 different women. And that means 10 times the legal fees to avoid child support.
Well, that's just morally wrong. But anyways, you heard him, folks. Let's move on to our main event, the head-to-head showdown. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Head to Head, a video game podcast, is brought to you by Head to Head, a video game podcast. Whether you're a small child who loves mommy or a 3-time widow with a drinking problem, Head to Head, a video game podcast, has something for everyone. What could be better than taking a load off after a hard day working in a salt mine and tuning in for a truly unique amalgamation of lowbrow humor, vaguely video game related commentary, and a bloody no-holds-barred cage match to the death between similar video games to determine which one is worth your money. Head to Head, a video game podcast, is sure to delight the senses with a carefully crafted audioscape that puts you, the listener, in the same cramped office space as a low-ranking media conglomerate employee, tasked with the seemingly impossible task of coming up with an instantly successful podcast with the ever-looming threat of being fired. I myself listen to Head, a video game podcast, and my life is better for it. In fact, I've recommended Head, a video game podcast to all of my friends and family, and they agree. Head, a video game podcast sure is a thing. Be sure to catch the first episode of Head, a video game podcast, the one you're listening to right now, on your favorite podcatcher today. For those of you at home thinking, I sure could slip into something a little more comfortable right now and throw a multi-episode paid sponsorship at a podcast right now. This podcast and this ad is for you. I'm looking at you, MeUndies, Squarespace, Blue Apron. Yeah, I see it.
We have a fearsome battle for you today, folks. With the passing of Halloween recently and the three of us holding a somewhat mutual terror in having to run this new podcast, something we know nothing about, we've chosen a horror battle today between two very spooky games. But only one can reign supreme on today's head-to-head showdown.
First competitor in today's matchup is Phasmophobia. Now, Phasmophobia is a debut game by the solo developer D. Nider released under Kinetic Games. It has an average of 37,000 daily players, and it features PC VR crossplay, in-game voice recognition, and unique gameplay concepts. Right now, it retails for an affordable $13.99 on the Steam store. This game is a spooky dooky, cooperative ghost hunting game in which you and 3 of your friends play as a team of paranormal investigators. At the start of each match, you'll ghost ride the whip on up to one of several haunted locations in a truck that's filled with paranormal tools that can help you both detect and protect in your search for Casper the socially anxious ghost. Find its special ghost room and plant an array of spectral sensors like camcorders, microphones, and motion detectors in what is certainly an NSA-level invasion of privacy. Use these tools to spectrally profile the dead as one of 12 ghost stereotypes before your sanity meter depletes and you find out the hard way these ghosts like to stick their dick in crazy. Jot down your guess in the nerd journal and then Scooby the fucking doo right out of there back to your windowless mystery machine before the ghost tries to show you how it feels to get demasked. Hey everybody, look, the humans were skeletons all along.
All right, guys, so Phasmophobia. Let's jump into this piece of paranormal pie. What did you guys think about it?
So, Phasmophobia, to me, it was fun. I really enjoyed it. I thought the scenery was really nice. It was like, it was almost like photorealistic in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot like, there was a really good game that came out for the PS4. You're going to remember the name of it. What was it?
Are you talking about the PT demo?
I got just flashbacks to the PT demo when I first loaded that game up. Just the lighting on the hallway. And I swear that first level that they kind of shift you into, they did a hallway that reminds you of the PT demo. Just to to put that into you, right? Did anybody else get that feel?
Kind of, yeah, man.
It was definitely inspired.
Yeah. Because it's, I mean, this game, that's what it was going for, right? The photorealistic environment is to immerse the player. Everything from, I mean, the artwork to the sound, like that very first demo house that they make you go through before you play the game proper. Did they make you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember if they made you.
No, That's the training house that they send you through. So they make you go through it.
You walk out of your kick-ass fucking Ghost Bro van, and when you look around, you're in a cul-de-sac, and if you just let it happen, you're fucking there. You're in that cul-de-sac.
Yep.
Every house along the way feels like something you could also walk into. And when you walk into that house, it feels like somebody lives there. Like, you look around, and especially, I didn't get to experience it in VR, so you guys are going to have to talk about that. But, I mean, even playing without VR, as I walked around, I was like, man, just turn the sound up a little bit and just get into my monitor, and I'm there. I'm walking around. I'm in this person's kitchen. I'm opening the door to that basement that I do not want to walk down into. It immediately pulls you in, and if anything, In Silence shines in that regard.
Phasmophobia.
Did I call it fucking... whatever. Phasmophobia. My bad.
I think your points are right, because usually, especially a solo developer, but an indie developer does not focus on that immersiveness. We've all played all those scary games on Steam that you can get for like $5.
Oh, yeah.
And we know the last thing they put into the game is immersion. They just want you to get spooked or startled
It's
or
all
anything
jump scares
like that.
and stuff, yeah.
It is. And one guy focused meticulously on making this game look, and again, like the PT teaser, like the lighting is so good in this. The photo frames on the wall just kind of feel right. And I think you could not do this game, have it this good without that stuff. You know?
Absolutely.
Right. And it's very subtle. That's what I really like about it, because it really we've all played those spooky games where you're walking out and then all of a sudden the lightning flashes and a picture frame. Oh, that guy turned into a skeleton. And it's like, it's too almost campy, you know?
I agree.
Yes.
But with Phasmophobia, you go in there and you're like Jake was saying, it's somebody's house. You're walking through and then all of a sudden a plate flies against the wall. Or you hear a door open and you know nobody's home.
Oh my God, it's as simple as just a creaking door. I mean, that's an everyday sound that you hear, right? You hear it in your house. A door, a little off kilter, maybe there's a little grease or something. And when you open it up, it creaks. You don't think about that at all. But if you heard that same sound at 3 a.m., it fucking gets the adrenaline rushing. And that's another thing Phasmophobia does really well, too. The sound. It's all the ambient noises, because it's not just the ghost. It's the players as well. When you're walking up the stairs, you're making those creaks, but you have to listen. Is it your buddy walking up the stairs, making the boards creak? Or is it the ghost 3 rooms over fucking with the door because it wants to kill you, you know?
Yeah, I think the subtleness is exactly right, because especially in the early matches of this game, the very first kind of hours playing through, you are your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
You scare yourself more than you could spend the first 20 minutes scared out of your mind, and the ghost hasn't done anything besides maybe flick a light switch, and then the rest of the time you're just thinking about this ghost behind you.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So I think in that sense, it did really good. I think the developer concentrated on these really subtle things that pulled you in. We played that terrible game. What was it? It was like In Prey or something, with that ghost that would just float through the house with this loud, just annoying kind of almost German alarm.
The girl with the X on her
girl
mouth?
with the X tag.
Yeah.
Yes. People can probably look this up. It was pretty popular around Halloween, but it was like night and day difference between subtlety and trying to hit you over the head with, you're scared right now, just so you know.
Whether you know it or not.
It became one of those puzzles where you just have to outrun somebody in a way where you can get to where you want to go.
Yeah, the problem that I had with Dead by Daylight, which I don't know how scary that's supposed to be, but when I watch people basically play like that parkour tag stuff I've been seeing on ESPN, with a big monster just like juking him over boxes and stuff. I'm like, how can you be scared? This isn't scary.
No, that's not horror.
You know?
That's fucking ESPN 8, the Ocho. Like, that's this Tuesday night main event.
All right. We've talked a lot about what we love about this game. So I want to kind of flip gears and say, what do you think is the biggest negative in your mind?
I'm going to say a little bit of the design was left out for the satisfaction, because the way that they chose to design, and I don't think this is giving away much, but the core gameplay of it is to figure out what type of ghost it is, like demon, oni, poltergeist, and each one of them has their own hints that it drops throughout the game depending on what tools pick up what. But this doesn't really feel great, because you play a game of Clue, you figure out, narrow it down through the process of elimination, and at the end of it, when you leave, you don't get this hurrah, you don't get this moment of like taking all these pieces, put them together, and bam, it just kind of fizzles out to well, I guess I figured it out. And this is even shown in the end screen, where it lists it in the very bottom with not a you win or you lose. It says, hey, the ghost was a demon.
It's like,
and like, if you guess demon, great. Yeah. Yeah, in case you guessed, here it is. But no, that's not how games works. Games are supposed to, impact your reward system and your negative system. When you can just guess whatever and leave the match and you don't lose anything, there's nothing risked, then you don't feel like you were challenged in a way.
That's true.
So I think he can just put a little more work into that, and I think that would make a huge leap, is to take some advice from bigger games and how they engage the person playing and get them feeling like an awesome hero.
The risk-reward system needs a lot of work there.
Yeah, the Skinner box, basically.
What's that?
What they do with rats, where they shock them for hitting one lever and they reward them for hitting another.
Okay.
And they just get into your instinctual brain. Same thing that like Candy Crush does with the jingles and the jangles and the candy. Yeah, primitive kind of brain psychology stuff.
I got you.
I think it severely lacks that, so after a while, you won't be addicted. It's a game you don't really get addicted to, you fizzle out on.
That is fair. You know what? Okay, so I know it is, at its heart, and since it is a game, it is a negative, but I kind of found that a little immersive, because it is a game about you're at work. Like, you're not playing an action adventure. You're not playing defeat the ghost and save mankind. You start off at your warehouse. You drive to a site. You're using your tools. You're working. You're trying to figure it out. It's a 9 to 5, and
it's a shitty job.
Yeah, it is. So in the beginning, it's like any new job, right? During training, it's exciting, and then, I mean, after you've done it on your, 6 months in, you're just like, okay, let's roll up. All right, the AMF. Okay, it's going. All right, so we got it's either a Banshee or a Revenant. Okay, what do you guys think? All right, so let's just put this down. Oh, there it is. Let's wrap it up before it kills us. All right, guys, you want to hit the bar after work? Cool. Like,
it does bog down to that.
Yeah.
Eventually, you do feel like you're clocking out once you figure this ghost out.
Yeah.
Yep, you're like working overtime trying to get that third objective, whatever it is, and you're struggling, and you eventually go, man, is it worth working right now? We could just leave. We're done for the day. We won't get our bonus at the end of the night, but whatever.
I mean, we put our hours in.
Right.
You probably came over from like an extermination company, like from rats over to ghosts. Like, this is just another job.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, if this existed in real life, yeah, this would be like working at as an exterminator, but ghost. You're right. And I don't know, man. That kind of helped in the immersion for me. Like, as I was going in.
Well,
at first I was scared. Like, this game can be so scary when it's new. But then, I don't know, man. I was putting in my hours and I was like, this is me. I'm making money. This is a better job than what I'm doing right now. So
I think it would be even more immersive if you were a ghost exterminator. I think that was one of the biggest problems I had, was like, whether you get the ghost right or you get the ghost wrong, and the only difference is like $20 or $10 or whatever it is.
That's true, yeah.
And it's like, how do the people paying you know you got it right? You're the only ones in there. It's like if you went in and you had to get it right in order to get the ghost out of there so that the house is safe to live in, then you get more money because you were able to help them. And if not, it was like a consultation fee.
Yeah.
I think that would have made it even more immersive as a
So,
job.
okay, the game is very subtle about it, but it actually does touch on that. You do work for a larger company, and your supervisor, the formless body that speaks to you over the radio about the job.
The narrator.
Yeah, he's the narrator for all intents and purposes. In one of his little blips that he throws out, he mentions that it's your job to identify, and another team, which you never see or interact with, actually goes in later to get rid of the ghost. So,
he says that?
Yeah.
I don't pay
I didn't
attention.
catch that at all.
That's why I'm the
That's
Lord.
why you're the story guy.
Yeah, I
That makes
absolutely caught it. Yeah, you're part of a larger company when you in this game, and there is absolutely a different team that's hinted at that you never see or interact with, which I think it should actually be part of the gameplay as well. It would be totally fun to fight the ghost.
I bet they're even sexier than you. Like that, they probably got like 5 o'clock shadow and like barrel chests.
So we're the
and you're
fucking
like,
interns. We're the interns that roll in.
I found the ghost for you, sir.
Step aside, Junior.
Good job, kid.
Speaking of, just terrible things to look at, what did you think of the character models?
Oh, my
Hated
God.
them. Absolutely hated them. They were so bad it was comedic.
Scariest part of the game, which is those character
When
models.
you crouch, lean back, and start fucking crab walking towards each other, it's terrifying.
I have a theory that the ghosts were scared of us. Whenever the ghosts wouldn't show up, we probably walked in a weird way, and they're like, "Fuck, what is that?"
Because we crab walk into that house and like, no, thank you, I'm gone.
Oh my God. Your body ain't supposed to bend like that.
But yeah,
They looked like meat sacks that somebody draped fake skin over.
Like the Men in Black bad
my
guy
God.
from the first
Yeah,
one in
the
that fucking
cockroach.
skin suit.
Edgar.
Yeah. Where he's having difficulty maneuvering the limbs because he's got like 4 legs up in one arm socket, and he's trying to you can hear bones snapping as he's trying to just turn his arm. That's what we are.
Yep.
Yeah, that's for a game that's so visually beautiful in so many aspects. Yeah, the player characters are bad, and
they're pretty jarring. Yeah.
Yes, they stick out like a sore thumb. I even think that a lot of the ghost models leave something to be desired.
Mm-hmm.
In a separate game, they would be scary. I mean, a lot of those ghost models are at home in, I don't know, like a Silent Hill kind of setting. They're bloody. Some of them are bandaged. Some of them have lamprey faces, which they don't actually fit any of the stereotypes that you're supposed to be identifying them as, because all those ghost types, I mean, those are represented in ghost lore, folklore. I don't know what you would call it. Pseudoscience. I don't know. But those are based on real ghost stories and folklore, and they're not supposed to look like
the same thing for every one of them.
Or like the fucking B team at a haunted house,
Well, that's difficult for the developer, because one of the reasons he did that was so that you can't just identify the ghosts by sight. So it has rotating player models where any one of those models could be any one of the ghost types. That way you can't
fair.
cheat. So I don't know how to get around that. Making them look better, probably, definitely. But yeah, I single developer, limited time. He did what he could, So I applaud him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's put it out there. Both of our games today are early access indie titles, and the fact alone that Phasmophobia was made by one person is mind blowing. It's
unbelievable.
It's a work. Yeah, it's a work of art for being made by one guy. So I'm just being. I got to be a critic. I'm not saying it's a bad job. I just got to critique, or else it wouldn't be fair, I guess.
We are battling them, so we got to point out the good and the bad of each, So
and the ugly character models.
And the ugly character models. Which will come up in the next game, don't worry.
They're walking around bent over, Being like, I need to find out what ghost this is, and I need sugar water.
Oh my god.
Well, what do you guys think about the social aspect of this game, though?
Oh, Jesus.
All right. Well, JB's dead. Podcast over. Roll credits.
I'm dropping stuff. Can you repeat the question?
What do you think about the social aspect, though?
I thought it was pretty cool. Like playing alone, I'm a wimp when it comes to ghost games, so I don't really like playing them at all. Playing socially, it kind of took the edge off a little bit, but then also added extra layers of immersion for me, because when you're talking to each other, it's all proximity chat. So we jumped out of Discord and only talked through the game, which was, I thought that was the best way to play it. And you also had these walkie-talkies on your shoulders that you could talk to each other, and it had like an actual walkie-talkie sound and all that kind of stuff. So I thought it had a good balance of helping you feel connected to your team, so it didn't feel like a single-player game that other people were just happened to be in. But it also had that balance to where you felt like you were alone at certain points. It added to that spook factor.
Yeah, like with this game, like real ghost hunting, you would never do it alone. Nobody ghost hunts alone. And this game, it doesn't really shine when you ghost hunt alone. I think, like you said, the balance of being alone, away from your teammates, but then still in communication with them. And he put in a really few good techniques for when, I don't want to give too much away, but for when dire moments happen, you will lose communication and doors will lock. And
oh my god, yeah.
Having companions and then having them cut off is worse than being alone.
Yep.
Initially.
It absolutely is. You're right.
As far as like how the game plays socially, it has great interactions. There is what I would even call emergent gameplay from having assholes for friends. Who will shut doors on you and hold the handles, which you can do, or they claim that they are just right behind you from the safety of the truck. They are in the next room, they tell you. So I think that levels up.
Yeah, I think Jake is the only one that didn't mess with us.
Oh, yeah.
No, because I was too busy living it, man. And I would... and every time I would try to open up a room and you guys started fucking with the door, I'd start getting freaked out. Like, guys, the ghost, it's fucking with us. And you're like, nah.
Yeah, we actually went ghost hunting. Me and Jake have in the past gone ghost hunting as a hobby, and it felt right. I mean, the ways that we handled it in this game is the way we handled it. Telling somebody to shut up when they're trying to get the ghost all pissed off and all that. It's good for that.
Yeah, that's true. That sounds like a really long conversation we should have.
Right
I don't
now.
know. Maybe not right now. Maybe let's do like a little Patreon blurb. Maybe we'll throw up a video of us just discussing the stuff that we used to do, including ghost hunting, which we really, really, really tried.
Yeah, a little
and
campfire.
You'll hear it if you're a Patreon subscriber.
Little campfire
Is that whoring it out too much? Did I just whore ourselves too much? I felt dirty doing that. Whatever. Just give us money.
Whoring is not a light matter. When you whore, you whore.
You whore hard.
Or else you're just a floozy. But if you're going to whore, you whore.
But seriously, yeah, we could throw that up. We could do some bonus content of us talking about our actual real life ghost experiences.
All right, so there we have it. Phasmophobia. Really fun game. Fun to play with your friends. Does have some downsides with the character models and the poor replayability. But now we're going to move on to our next game, In Silence. Cowboy, you want to take it away?
All right. In Silence is the breakout release from the pair of indie developers at Ravenhood Games, and it's an unknown gem at only 1,700 average daily players. It features asymmetrical multiplayer, randomized perks and item locations, and a unique playable monster. It retails for about half the price of its opponent, at $7.99. This game is a 1v5 multiplayer cat-and-mouse horror game in which one player controls the Rake, a blood-drenched bipedal rat monster trying to murder the flashlight-toting, trap-laying survivors. And the genius twist is, the Rake is functionally blind. Yep, like my grandma behind the wheel without her bifocals and glaucoma medication, it tears through the rural town, killing every blurry person who fails to stay out of its way. It uses an echolocation compass that pings all the players who never saw John Krasinski's A Quiet Place as they struggle with noisy traps and microphone discipline, all in a desperate search for a gas can and a windshield wiper to fix up the getaway vehicle. Now, as a survivor, should the rat monster stumble over your hiding spot and mistake your head for a wedge of brie, fear not, as your flashlight doubles as a flashbang. Simply expend a few of the batteries found scattered across the map to blast the rake's eyes with a blinding light like you're a lifted truck that always tailgates me on the freeway. And if scavenger hunts aren't your thing, look for the secret codes written all across the map that can unlock a secret armory of guns that's hidden in every Midwest podunk town. You know, 'cause this is America.
All right, guys, in silence, the B horror flick come to life. What'd you guys think about it?
I thought, for what it is, it's good. It's, I will always give credit to developers that try new things. And the idea of making the monster blind, I think that's a great idea. I love the execution. It is still in alpha, but, I love what the concept. And that gets huge points from me.
Yeah, I would say that is a truly... Yeah, it's a truly unique player mechanic. I haven't necessarily experienced anything like that before in a game. But that aside, what did you guys really feel about that, though? Because, I mean, that's one of the newest things that In Silence brings to the table. So let's pick that apart first. When you play as the Rake, did you guys think that it was implemented well or not?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the Rake would have been good if being like a non-Rake, a survivor, would have been better. But my problem was when I was the Rake, it felt too easy. I don't know. I felt like every moment somebody was making noise and they couldn't really handle it. And if they were going fast, I could find them. If they were going slow, I would stumble upon them at different areas of interest. Like there's certain places like the car you could just go to. So as the Rake, I felt like it wasn't a challenge, really.
It's crazy because I would say the opposite. One of my experiences with playing the Rake is stumbling towards every little noise that happened and just happening upon nobody. So I felt like part of the problem was I guess the challenge. I had a hard time being the Rake, and sometimes you guys had such an easy time, and I could not figure out why I was getting my ass handed to me.
I had a hard time with the Rake too. I think it comes down to the actual player. I mean, the
survivor or the player?
No, the actual player. This is going to be a little corny, but I feel like it's like Avatar, man. You got to jump into that blue body, and what you do with that blue, sexy avatar body it's up to you. It's the same thing with the Rake. I mean, you and me, we were bad at it. I think JB was good at it. And when we were playing with other people, there was one guy that was absolutely terrifying as the Rake.
Yeah. Because
here's one thing that In Silence does use kind of ingeniously sound design. It also has proximity voice chat, but the Rake has it too. So if somebody is playing it well, in this case, one of the rounds we played was with this one guy. It was his first time being the Rake, but he was into it. He was running around like an absolute demon. He was screaming, making guttural, terrible noises while he was running around. And that shit was scarier than almost anything else that happened to me in that game. Because at that point, you were hiding from a real person. You weren't hiding from the Rake, which does also look stunningly grotesque for a B horror flick villain. When I was hiding down in the basement, I wasn't worried about the Rake stomping and sniffing and screeching. I was worried about the guy upstairs going, "I can hear you, motherfucker!" And I felt like I was hiding from fucking Jason, right? So,
Bong Ripper 420 is coming to get you. Way scarier than whatever the Rake is.
It really was. It really was. I would say to compare Phasmophobia and In Silence on the horror aspect, I would say, yeah, In Silence isn't as scary. It's actually, let me rephrase that. It's as scary as the person playing the rake.
I think you could also say it's at the opposite end of the spectrum as far as scary goes. Phasmophobia is scary because of how quiet and slow and everything it is, and In Silence is scary for how kind of fast and jumpy it is. I think they both hit that at both ends of the spectrum.
That's true. Yeah, Phasmophobia is that slow, anxiety-ridden terror.
In Silence does actually have those moments of oh shit when the thing's coming up on you and you can hear it stomping around. You're hoping it doesn't find the bush that you're hidden in. So yeah, I think it gets points for that. It's an exciting time always. It's never boring, at least you can say.
And the fact that you can have so many different people playing it and it's like online multiplayer stuff is great. That was a lot of fun. Just getting a full lobby of players to all be what did we name the fat guy?
Oh my God, we called him Frank. Yeah, the chubby guy with the Friar Tuck dome. Yeah, we called him Frank. And that's right. We jumped in there and we started not spamming because it was voice. I'm thinking of Among Us. We started saying Frank only, and everyone was like, fuck yeah, Frank only. And everyone immediately switched. And it was an army of Franks wandering around in the dark.
We were all greeting each other. Hey, Frank, how's it going, Frank?
Yeah.
It was much more of a fun time in that sense that you could get together. The Phasmophobia didn't really have multiplayer lobbies that you joined. You didn't get to meet new people.
That's true.
Hit your friends up on Discord. You guys get in and play.
Actually, let me count. I think it does, and I think we never did it. Well, I think you can pair with randoms, but not to the degree of In Silence by any means.
And I don't think anybody really does. I don't think people join up for that game. I think it's not a fun time like game of street basketball. What am I trying to say? Pickup basketball.
It's definitely not a game for randoms, I don't think. No.
Maybe I'm just antisocial, but I never played Phasmophobia with randoms because, I don't know, maybe I didn't trust them, or you get into servers and nothing happens. But In Silence, when you get into a server, people are talking, people are doing stuff, the game jumps and starts going right away.
Yeah, it's incredibly more social, yeah.
I didn't like that In Silence didn't have a walkie-talkie. I think that would have brought it up to the next level.
The walkie-talkie sound effect?
An implementation of walkie-talkies would be good because it would also reveal your position, but you could relay information to your team. That's actually pretty smart. Yeah.
It felt a lot more solitary to me because it didn't have that walkie-talkie. So, in the lobbies, everybody would be having fun, joking around, and then as soon as we entered the game, people would split up and go their separate ways, and you have no way to talk to people. So that was difficult for me.
That is true. That's a little bit like the Among Us problem, in which as soon as the game starts, everybody shuts up. So you lose that social aspect. As where in Phasmophobia, you're constantly talking to each other. In these kind of games, you shut up. You lose all the socialness almost instantly, unless you want to play badly, which is fun too.
That's true. Yeah,
we did have that match where the rat monster didn't even really attack us. He was just always around us talking shit, which was hilarious with how scary and demonic his voice sounded.
Oh my God. That ripped open rat monster just walking up, hey, how you doing?
Yeah. and you thought he was just fucking around until he killed you. You didn't think he was taking it serious until he ripped your face off. You're like, oh my God, he's actually good.
So yeah, I think it'd be safe to say that the Phasmophobia presents a more intimate multiplayer experience that's better with friends, and In Silence is more of that bombastic lobby experience that I don't know, like games like fucking Call of Duty bring.
Yeah,
you get in the lobby, you talking shit, things like that. You get to the game, you're doing it.
Yeah, it could almost be like a scary action game. You could classify it as that. How did you guys feel about what was scary about it? What really were the scary moments for you?
Those fucking Jack in the Boxes.
Oh my God, the Jack in the Boxes are the scariest thing in that whole game.
Way worse than the rake. I mean, by times 2, times 3, those things got me every time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes the rake would get you like, oh, here goes my flashbang. That sucks. I got to try harder. The Jack-in-the-Box gets you and you shit your pants. Right away.
After the rake gets you for the second time, it wears off. That your heart stops racing when it happens again. Every Jack-in-the-Box, every time, I would audibly yell.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
I would say, or I will say, In Silence is not as good a looking game as Phasmophobia, like at all. Say for the character models, the rake looks amazing. The player characters actually look really good. I wish In Silence's player characters were in Phasmophobia. But In Silence does go for another one of those photorealistic situations. It paints the picture well enough. It sets up the campy horror element. I mean, you play when you can see it. You play in an abandoned camp. And there are clues around. I mean, it's a campsite. There's the camp signs. There's the tents. It tries to paint a picture that something has happened here, and the rake has already been there and done a lot for a while. It's apparent with the bloody handprints on the armory. Things like that.
Yeah.
So I think In Silence does well painting a really nice world space. But aside from the characters, visually, it's almost claustrophobic. It's so dark when you're wandering around, which I know it's supposed to be a horror element. It's supposed to build anxiety when you can't see. But I think it's so dark, and your lighting elements are so few and far between and dim even. I mean, when you're around them, I honestly felt kind of claustrophobic, and I never knew where I was. I felt like that was a big problem with In Silence. I never knew where I was. When I was playing by myself, just to like get a good feel of it, I had no fucking clue where the car was for like half an hour at a time.
In a few ways, the game has a negative way of isolating you. Not in the way that you're spooked out or scared. It's a little more like you're lost. You nobody's around you. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what you're doing. It's more of the bored kind of isolated, like you're not in the game, like you're not playing.
Yep.
I did get that sense that you can get away from everyone and everything that's happening. You could spend the whole time just like wandering the darkness, figuring out where you should go and what you should do, and the game's over, and you've done nothing. So, Jay, what did you think of the main like gameplay loop, the actual goals of the game? Let's say as the survivors, how did that feel to you?
Honestly, I didn't like being the survivor. I think the rake was, it like you were saying, it might just be me as a player that I'm more in tune with that playstyle because it's literally just holding W. But
Yeah.
But as a survivor, I felt like you weren't like, no matter what type of route you wanted to take, the game was trying to stop you. So if you wanted to be like super quick, hey, I want to run and grab as much stuff as I can and get back, you're going to get eaten right away. So I tried being slower later on, and I would crouch walk the entire time. I would be super silent, and I would still get ate real fast. Or it would get to the point where I still haven't found anything and time's almost up. So I felt like no matter what play style you have, you lose as a survivor. And then even if you want to go like get the guns from the armory, unless every survivor is still alive and shooting at the rake, you're not going to do anything to it. He's just going to eat you. When I was the rake and you opened up the armory, I killed like 4 people before I finally died. It's like,
Yeah, it gives you a bit of time to back off them and try to pick them off, because at that point you know that they've been working on the armory and not on the actual items to repair the car. So I feel like you get a bit of time to go through and pick them off.
True. Yeah, strategy. There is some strategy to it, like being able as a survivor to set audio traps for the rake, like setting up the radios and scarecrows and different things like that. That's good. And perhaps if I played the rake more strategically, I wouldn't have died, but also I got good success by holding W. So I think that works too.
The payoff on those things actually felt good too. Having like tossing a let's call it an on radio, a radio that you've turned on nearby as the rake's you can hear him impending and then hiding and having him just pass you. There's so many times in this game where the rake has passed me by inches. And the payoff on that is good. You actually feel good about what you did. Every piece of the gameplay actually kind of pays off in certain ways. So I think that's a huge plus for it.
Yeah, it can actually be exciting to play, for sure. Well, there you have it, In Silence, a fast-paced romp through an 80s horror flick that's fun to play with strangers, though it suffers from very short replayability and claustrophobic environments.
Now we know what's good, what's bad, and what matters about each game. As always, our contenders will be awarded trophies based on the 3 categories of art, game design, and fun factor. And then, with those in mind, we will crown an ultimate victor for today's battle. And I know you're all excited, as this is our first episode, to hear those results, so we won't delay any. We're going to go ahead and jump right into them. And there's an email from the boss. So it looks like we're going to have an ad. While we calculate the results to find the winner, let's take a listen to this week's mini-boss, a quick game review by our one and only JB. This mini-boss is brought to you by Karen's A-Line Haircuts. When life gives you a normal haircut, ask for Life's Manager and go to Karen's.
Hey everybody, this week's mini-boss is Undermine. This award-winning indie roguelite from two-man dev team Thorium has nearly 4,500 reviews on Steam with a 93% very positive score. It is a procedurally generated roguelite that delivers on exactly what you would expect from the genre. It has tons of unlockables, items, upgrades, enemies, unique pets and bosses, and of course it has that meta progression that makes each run a bit easier than the last. For those of you who prefer a more hardcore challenge, it does have options for you too. In the main game mode, you get different difficulty levels to give you a bit more of a challenge. There's also a separate mode called Othermine. This is a mode where you gain meta progression throughout your run and lose them at the end. This is separate from the normal mode, so it will not impact your game once out of the Othermine. This game is just flat out fun. It's one of my favorite roguelites, and I believe it's going to be a contender for one of the best in the genre, right up there with legends like Enter the Gungeon and Binding of Isaac. This mini-boss is no slouch, but it does have some weaknesses. The difficulty levels, more than anything else, seem to increase boss health, almost to the point of getting annoying. Also, once you unlock certain potions, certain types of builds can get extremely overpowered, causing runs to feel very samey. If anybody's played this, Ambrosia and Holy Glaze. At some point, money no longer matters either, and playing on the base game mode doesn't provide any more rewards. It does have a $20 price tag, which is more expensive than both Binding and Gungeon. That being said, this game is absolutely worth it. So if you're a fan of roguelites, check this one out. Now, back to the showdown.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. It's the moment you've been waiting for all podcast. 3 trophies, 2 games, 1 ultimate victor. Up first is the art trophy. Both games use light and sound to great effect to create a tense atmosphere rife with jump scares and anxiety. And both games use realistic landscapes to help immerse a player. Though In Silence comes out ahead with character models, Phasmophobia coalesces into a generally better experience for the player in every other way, creating a hyper-realistic visual audio experience you can enjoy with your friends. It truly captures what it would be like working a 9-to-5 in the ghost hunting business. For this, Phasmophobia takes the art trophy.
And next is the game design trophy. Now let me be clear, I think the concepts and efforts of both these studios should be highly applauded. Both games deliver on the spooks and scares, including wide varieties where needed and strategy-based learning curves. Yet, both games being in alpha and being produced by very small dev teams, they do suffer from the same problems that would come from having ambitious ideas that fall flat in under-focused areas. While Phasmophobia sometimes fails to deliver on actions by the player and can leave you in a room swearing at a ghost for 20 minutes with no reaction. And In Silence can also leave you lost roaming through the dark with no directions of your goals or your fellow survivors. Now, while Phasmophobia has the most potential in these areas, it feels to me as if In Silence has the most complete, balanced, and approachable of the game designs. And so for that, I'm going to have to give the game design trophy to In Silence.
And finally, I'm going to be handing out the Fun Factor trophy. Now, both games are fun in their own right, but depending on your mood, likes, and personality, either one could easily become a favorite amongst your friends. Phasmophobia's fun comes from the immersive environments, varied maps, and multiple objectives. But all of that can take a back seat when you're sitting in a room yelling at a ghost that just won't show up. In Silence, on the other hand, has way more action, is more fast-paced, and that means the downtime is much shorter. However, after playing both of these games for extended periods, There was only one that I felt like I wanted more of, and for that reason, the Fun Factor trophy goes to Phasmophobia.
And those were our trophies for today's showdown to tell you where each game excels. But now it's time for the final showdown, where we hosts will cast our vote to figure out who is the final winner for spookiest multiplayer game to play with your friends. Starting off, JB.
I'm going to have to give it to Phasmophobia.
Jake.
Easy. My vote's going for Phasmophobia.
And I'm going to go ahead and make it unanimous with a vote for Phasmophobia, which takes our title for spookiest multiplayer game to play with your friends. All right, guys, we did it. That is the end of our first episode. We successfully got through. Yeah, good job, everybody. Thank you, the listeners, for tuning in and supporting us in whatever way you have. We are small now, but we will be gigantic, and we will either remember you or crush you beneath our feet on our rise up.
Remember to send us questions or just anything you want at head2headpod. That's head, the number 2, headpod@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter. Wherever else we exist online right now, I don't actually know. But find us and message us. Remember, listener questions and the audience head-to-head depends on you. Also, thanks to Metroid Mike for the use of our theme song, I Can't Break, off of his album Heart of the Juggernaut. You can find him on Bandcamp, on Spotify, and hit him up on Twitter to say hi. That's METROYDMYK.
Links to all our social media can be found in the episode description, as well as H2H, that's H, the number 2, H, pod.com.
Now, get the fuck out of here.
Good night, everybody!
Good night. Or morning.
All right, guys. I don't know how we're going to keep doing this, man. This was a lot of work. I found my microphone in a supply closet. I said some wrong shit. Dragon Quest 1 wasn't the first RPG. I don't even know what I'm doing here, man.
You know skulls are on thin ice. It was good, but not good enough. We didn't generate enough revenue. I need something hot for next week. I want that game with Keanu and the Dong Sliders in it. That'll get us money.
But, boss, that game got pushed back. That got delayed.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was awesome. Do you guys figure it out? Give me ninjas and music, and I don't care. It's 5 p.m.
Did you hear that? He said it was good.